My wife asked me for an open relationship, and after her first date, I was ready to walk out. Now she's suggesting we swing, so I'm not left out. I'm Logan, 27M, and I've been married to my wife Lauren, 26F, for 2 years. We've been together for 4 years, and I wouldn't say our relationship has been anything extraordinary. It's been solid, normal even. We met through a mutual friend, hit it off quickly, and after dating for about 18 months, we moved in together and got engaged. 6 months later, we had a small, simple wedding. For the first couple of years, things seemed fine. Great, even. We've both been focused on our careers and we're doing pretty well for ourselves. We still make time for dates and spending quality time together. Then, about 5 months ago, Lauren got promoted to a managerial role at a new company. A week later, she hit me with a request that completely blindsided me. She asked for an open relationship. I had no idea where this was coming from. We'd never discussed anything like that before. When I asked her why, she started talking about a married coworker, Olivia, who's in an open relationship. Apparently, Lauren and Olivia had been discussing this since Lauren's 3rd day on the job. Lauren began trying to sell me on the idea, bullet pointing how it would bring us closer, give us new experiences, spice up our sex life, and allow us to meet new people, and so on. Initially, I was completely against it. I still am, to be honest, but somehow here I am in this ridiculous situation. When I first turned her down, she seemed to accept it and we just moved on with our night. But she didn't let it go. She kept bringing it up, again and again. On top of that, she started sending me stories from forums like r/non-monogamy and r/open marriage, but only the positive, cherry-picked ones. When I started looking at those forums myself and sent her some of the horror stories I found, she stopped sharing them. Instead, she said, we shouldn't be basing our marriage on someone else's experience. She also started acting like super wife, bringing home my favorite snacks, doing extra chores, and constantly initiating sex. While I enjoyed the attention, it felt a little hollow, knowing there was a motive behind it all. I kept asking her if there was someone she was already interested in. She denied it, swearing there wasn't anyone else, and even getting upset the last time I brought it up. But I'm not entirely convinced. I know her new job has a lot of guys her age, fresh out of college. I can't shake the feeling that there's more to it than what she's saying. Yet she continued to push this idea of new experiences and how it could bring us closer. And maybe she had a point about that last part. I mean, I'm only her second boyfriend and she was in a 6-year relationship before we met. She'd only been single for about 3 weeks when we got together. I've had a bit more experience. I'm her 3rd sexual partner and she's my 6th. 2 months ago, she finally broke me. Up until then, I'd stood firm, telling her I wasn't comfortable with any of this. Throughout that time, she was sweet, understanding, but also persistent. But on that particular day, she gave me an ultimatum. I told her, I don't think I'll ever be ready to share you with someone else. Her response hit me like a punch in the gut. Maybe we should take some time apart. I was floored. Are you serious? She looked sad, with tears forming in her eyes, and said, yeah, I just feel confined. I understand that you don't want this, but I think I need to experience other things. Maybe this isn't for us, but I need to try. I don't want a divorce, but maybe we should take some time apart to figure out what we want. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So you want a divorce? Am I just not enough for you anymore? She softened a little and said, it's not that you're not enough. I just want to be open to new experiences, to meet people, and not be bound by societal rules or expectations. I don't want a divorce. I want you. But I feel like I need to explore this, and you don't. Maybe some time apart would help us figure things out. That's when I caved. Fine, I'll give it a try, I said, and she immediately perked up. But can we take it slow and come up with some basic rules? Lauren, clearly excited but trying to keep her cool, said, yes, we can take our time. Thank you. I really think this will be good for us in the long run. She then initiated sex, and I went along with it, even though I still felt uneasy. Fast forward to a few hours ago, and we were having dinner with the couple we're apparently supposed to swing with. Most of the night, I was making small talk with Jenna, a sweet and attractive 21-year-old. She's definitely my type physically, but the whole situation feels so bizarre. Lauren, on the other hand, was practically flirting with Jenna's boyfriend, Ryan, like they'd been doing this for years. He's a good-looking guy, I won't lie, but everything just feels way too convenient. I can't shake the feeling that this was Lauren's plan from the start. Jenna and I, however, seemed far more hesitant about the whole thing. She was nice, but there was definitely an awkwardness between us. Lauren keeps insisting that this couple wants to swing with us because they're new to it too. But deep down, I have this nagging suspicion that something's been going on between my wife and Ryan. It just feels too coincidental to ignore. When I caved and told Lauren we could try an open relationship and that I'd like to take things really slow, she took that to mean waiting until the next day was slow enough. I figured we would really sit down, talk through rules, read some books on E&M, ethical non-monogamy, and take it one step at a time. The next morning, I woke up a little later than usual, and Lauren had already been up for a while. She'd made us both Tinder profiles, like she really put a lot of effort into setting them up. I tried to tell her this was moving too fast, but she countered with, "It's just about being ready for when we are ready. It could take months for either of us to match with someone. We can still take it slow, but now this part is done, and we can start making matches while figuring the rest out." I begrudgingly accepted that. However, within 24 hours, she already had around 20 matches. That number kept climbing as the days went by. We'd try to talk about how we wanted things to go, but she was constantly distracted by her phone blowing up with notifications. Within 4 days, she was already messaging a few guys. 3 weeks later, she had her first date scheduled. We had gone over the rules and boundaries we both agreed to follow. She reluctantly agreed to some of them, but we had an understanding. The basics were, use protection every time, no physical contact on the first date, be home by the agreed upon time, or communicate if plans changed, and give each other details about the dates, location, who the person was, for safety reasons. Most importantly, we agreed our relationship came first. No canceling plans with each other for the sake of someone else. A lot of those rules went out the window on our first date. We had only been open for 3 weeks. She told me she'd be home by 11 p.m., but she didn't walk through the door until 12:30 a.m. I was still awake, and I was pissed. Not only had she come home late, but she hadn't even bothered to send a text. It was pretty obvious she'd done something with this guy. She tried to get intimate with me, but I was having none of it. I was done. I told her she was way past the time she promised, didn't communicate at all, and that I was sure she crossed the line. She didn't deny it, just gave me the excuse that things escalated and she got caught up in the moment. She promised to do better next time, saying now that she understood how things could get exciting, she'd have a plan to manage it better. Then she tried to convince me to reclaim her, but I flat out refused. That's when she got angry, stormed off, and said she was going to shower. I ended up sleeping on the couch that night. The next morning, I had made up my mind. I was done. I went into the bedroom and started packing a bag. Lauren woke up and asked, "What are you doing?" I told her, "I'm leaving." She looked alarmed and said, "Where are you going? What do you mean you're leaving?" I replied, "I'm done. I'm going to my sister's. I'm not going to just sit around the house while you're out on dates. You pushed me onto those forums to convince me, but I read a lot more than just the ones you cherry-picked. Here's the reality of most of those stories. You'll sift through tons of matches, picking and choosing who you want, while I go months, maybe even years without a match. Eventually, we'll resent each other, and we'll end up divorced. I'm just skipping to the end." She interrupted, "You had one match." I shot back angrily, "We both know that was a bot." She jumped up then and put her hands on me. Okay, I'm sorry, you're right. We're moving too fast. Please don't go. We can work this out. We can find a balance that works for both of us. You're just upset right now. Let's calm down and really talk about this. I promise, nothing like last night will happen again. Trust me, we can fix this." And there I was, caving again. I cave a lot. We finally had the deep conversation we should have had from the beginning, before we did anything. The talk we'd needed, but that she had been too distracted to have earlier. That conversation is what led to today. Having dinner with Lauren and another couple, doing a vibe check. Dinner went fine. Lauren and Ryan definitely vibed, which, to be honest, annoyed the hell out of me. I tried my best to act normal. I think Jenna was doing the same thing. As the night went on and it became obvious that our significant others were way more interested in each other than us, Jenna and I started talking about the elephant in the room. While neither of us said it outright, I think we both knew. We didn't really want any of this, and now we were just going along for the ride. At least, that's how it seemed to me. Before we all left, Jenna and I traded numbers. I'm thinking of texting her tomorrow, just to see if any of this was really her idea, or if she's in the same boat as me. I only have one more day until we're supposed to head over to Olivia's house on Saturday night for a play party. Honestly, this whole thing makes me feel like we're rushing into it. We've never done anything like this before, but apparently we're jumping into a swinger party with 10 other couples. Lauren keeps telling me it's not what I'm imagining and that I don't have to do anything I don't want to, but she insists we should go and check it out. She says we're just going to see if this is something we want to try, and if we're into it, we can go ahead with Ryan and Jenna. I guess I'm going because I'm dumb enough to let this train wreck keep going. To be honest, I keep thinking that Jenna's really attractive, and if Lauren keeps pissing me off and messing around, I might just say screw it and see what happens. My login 27M, wife, Lauren 26F of 2 years, pressured me into an open relationship, and that almost ended our marriage right there. But instead of working to fix things between us, she shifted gears to swinging so she could keep sleeping with her coworker, Ryan, 27M. So we tried that, but apparently Jenna and I didn't do it right, which triggered a huge argument between Lauren and me. I went into that argument determined to get the truth out of her, but it turned out easier than I expected. She was so furious that she just blurted everything out in her anger, like it was somehow my fault. As I listened to Lauren rant about what I should have done, it hit me that all of this was about her living out some fantasy she'd built in her head. She expected me to be focused on her while she was with Ryan. I still can't wrap my head around how she thought that was going to work. She and Ryan wanted to sleep together, but didn't want to risk their current situations. They didn't want Jenna and me to hit it off. They assumed we'd just go along with their plan, but all I ended up being was an obstacle. Lauren didn't want to let go of me, but she also wanted to mess around with other people. What she really wanted was a one-sided, open relationship, but she couldn't make it work. And when I got a taste of it, she couldn't handle that. As she kept ranting, I realized our marriage was over. I never asked for any of this E&M stuff. She did. Well, she got what she wanted, and I hope it was worth it. I told her I wanted a divorce, packed a bag that night, and got myself a hotel room for a few days. I also texted Jenna to check in on her. She had a huge fight with Ryan, which ended with her breaking up with him and leaving their apartment. She's actually in a better spot than I am. She wasn't on the lease since she had only moved in with him a few months ago. They weren't married, but I am. I talked to a divorce lawyer on Monday, just 2 days after everything blew up, and she said she could have papers drawn up and served by the end of the week. I've got some savings and plan to break our lease and find my own place. Jenna stayed with me for the 3 days I was at the hotel, and I can't deny that I'm really falling for her. We spent those 3 days getting to know each other, and honestly, I could have kept talking to her for another 3 days straight. There's definitely a connection, and it's not just some leftover adrenaline from the party. The passion between us was real. We couldn't keep our hands off each other. After the 3 days, I went back to the apartment to grab some of my stuff. I'm staying with my sister for now, but I've got a lead on an apartment of my own, though it won't be ready until next weekend. Lauren wasn't there when I came by, and she hasn't texted me either. That's pretty typical of her. Giving me the cold shoulder was always her go-to move. It used to drive me crazy, but now I'm just grateful for the silence. It's Friday night, and I just got word that the divorce papers were served today. My lawyer told me Lauren didn't even react. I'm sure she wasn't surprised. This should be a straightforward process. We rented, had separate bank accounts, no kids, and this is a no-fault state. Honestly, I keep waiting to feel sad or angry, but all I feel is relief. These past few months have been too hard. I loved her, but what she put me through wasn't fair, and I've got a lot of resentment built up. I've been texting Jenna non-stop since she went back to her parents' house on Wednesday. I asked her out on a real date tonight, but she had a family thing, so we made plans for tomorrow. I feel like a teenager. I'm so nervous, which makes no sense since we've already slept together several times. It's just that I've had too much time to think. I'm obsessing over where to take her, what I should wear, whether I should get a haircut tomorrow. It just feels different, even more intense than when I first started dating Lauren. Anyway, that's the update. It's been a strange few months and an even stranger week, but I think things are finally going my way. The The pain of my marriage is being replaced by excitement for what's next. Maybe it's just NRE, new relationship energy talking, but at this point, I don't have anything to lose by seeing where this goes. I, Logan, 30, started a new job about 6 months ago. I switched companies to become the director of projects at this new place, and it came with a huge pay increase. At the time, they were looking to hire both a director and an assistant director, so it was an exciting opportunity for me. On my first day, I had an early meeting with the VP. Both the assistant director and I were going to be introduced to the team that day. I arrived first and was chatting with the VP when the assistant director showed up. To my complete shock, it was Ryan, 30M, the same guy my ex-wife cheated with. The look on his face was priceless. I'm sure I looked surprised too, but the way his eyes nearly popped out of his head was actually kind of funny in hindsight. The VP was confused by the tension, but we both played it off. The rest of the day went on as usual. Tense, but manageable. At the end of the day, Ryan approached me wanting to talk. I cut him off before he could say much. I don't need to hear anything from you unless it's about work. I don't know how you got this position, but you better do your job and do it well because I'll be watching closely, I told him sternly before walking away. He stopped me and said, I'm qualified for this position. I know you think I'm just a piece of crap, and I'm sorry for everything, but I'll prove to you that I'm worthy of this chance. As I kept walking away, he called out, by the way, I left Lauren. I didn't believe him, not for a second. Why would I? This guy played a huge role in wrecking my marriage, but in the 6 months we've worked together, he's actually proven to be a valuable asset. He knows his stuff, always meets deadlines, and has never given me a reason to doubt his work. I still only speak to him about work, keeping everything professional and distant. He's friendly but respectful toward me and the other staff, and he's never once brought up Jenna or Lauren since that first day. Lately, though, I've started to feel bad. I talk to the other staff more personally, asking about their weekends or their families. I never ask Ryan anything outside of work. I started noticing that he never got invited to the Friday hangouts with the rest of the staff. Out of curiosity, I asked the blunt, no-filter intern why Ryan was being left out. He told me, well, first off, everyone loves you, especially compared to the last guy. Ellie picked up on you not liking him, so we all figured there's got to be a reason for that, and we keep our distance from him. Damn. He was being exiled because of me, and that didn't seem fair. Despite our history, he's been a great team member and hasn't done anything to deserve being excluded. So, over the past few months, I've started being more personable with him. I ask how he's doing, how his weekend was, and we've even talked about sports, which led to more casual conversations. We actually have a lot in common. I still don't particularly like him because of our history, but sometimes I feel like Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights, wondering, why am I still talking to you? Anyway, the rest of the team noticed and started being friendlier with him too. I heard he got invited to a poker night recently, so I guess mission accomplished on that front. Now I'm at a crossroads. I have to evaluate all the employees in my department, and I can recommend them for termination, renewal, or transfer to another department. There's another assistant director position open in the company, and if I recommend Ryan for the transfer, I'm sure it would be approved. It's a lateral move. He'd make the same salary, just in a different department. He's been a great asset to my team, but I'm not sure if I want to continue working with him long term. Edit. Okay, I hear you. You all want an update on what happened with Jenna. Well, here it is. We were good for a while. Our relationship was fun and exciting, but when we hit the 7-month mark, things started to change. I began to feel insecure about her, which I know was my own issue, stemming from the trauma I went through with my marriage. It was a me problem. I became a little suffocating, and I had a lot of anxiety when she was on her phone or going out without me. That led to some passive-aggressive behavior on my part, and I take full responsibility for that. We talked about it a lot, though. At the same time, Jenna was nearing her graduation and working toward her BSN. She was only 21 when we got together, and had mostly been in long-term relationships. She had just gotten out of a controlling relationship with Ryan when we started dating. She often told me how much more confident she felt after leaving him. I could see that she was changing, becoming a stronger, more independent person. She wanted to explore that independence and discover herself more fully. Meanwhile, I sought out therapy to deal with the baggage from my failed marriage, which I'd never really processed. Jenna sought out her independence. Ultimately, we made the mutual decision to end things. It was very amicable. We stayed friends, and I was even invited to her family graduation party, which went well despite a bit of lingering awkwardness. We still talk here and there on social media, but we've both moved on with our lives. Sorry if this isn't the dramatic story you were hoping for. I think if we had met a few years later, it might have led to something more, but for where we both were at the time, it was a case of right person, wrong time. Who knows, maybe we'll reconnect one day, but I'm not holding my breath, especially since I've seen that she started dating someone else.